Hello everybody and welcome to Jump Force. This is my first proper video on Jump Force since I've actually got my hands on the game, played the game a little bit. What you're going to be seeing is my very first experiences with online battles in Jump Force. I did play one more game before this, just as part of a test recording, and it ended in a disconnect anyway, so not that important I guess. I should preface this with the fact that I am not really a connoisseur of fighting games, and that probably shows in this video. You're probably going to see a lot of me doing stuff and you're like, what? But I don't really play fighting games that much. The thing that interested me in this game was not the fighting game aspect, it was the jump characters aspect. That being said, the fighting aspect I actually really enjoy, and I'll talk about that a bit more in a sec. I did also need to say, before we got deep into this recording, that this was recorded before the patch, so maybe the load times are better after the patch, maybe there's less like bugginess, less disconnects, I don't know. But this was recorded prior to that, so you're gonna sit with me through some of the nonsense. I don't know what the recording quality is going to be like because this is my first time using my Elgato in this way, but I'm hoping it doesn't look too bad. I might have to tweak the settings a little bit. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the gameplay. I actually really fucking enjoy the gameplay, and like I said, I'm not a fighting games guy. Like Smash Bros, yeah, I buy every Smash Bros, but I'm not good at it. I just like the series ever since I was a kid. And other than that, I don't know what fucking series I've actually bought that are fighting games. Like I guess I had Soul Calibur 2 on GameCube, so there you go. I actually probably have a few fighting games on Steam and on my Xbox library, but not necessarily actually playing them. Now, you're probably going to see a lot of me getting bodied in this gameplay because of that, because I'm not really great at fighting games, and also don't have the best like hand-eye coordination really. But I think I had a few good moments. I got a few good combos off or whatever. But there was a lot of me not knowing what the fuck I was doing. In spite of that, I really do enjoy this game. In terms of the actual gameplay, that is. We'll talk about the other shit that like maybe has its issues or whatever later. But in terms of the actual game, the actual shit we're playing, I think it's really fucking fun. Some of the characters are so fucking fun to play with. You can see at the moment, the team I've got right there is like the three I enjoy playing with the most. I love playing with Yugi, I love playing with Jotaro, but I love playing with Dai. It just feels so good. And again, like I said, not the best not the best at fighting games. So there were definitely a few moments playing the game where I thought I knew what I was doing and I just got completely punked. And there's definitely one bit of gameplay later you're going to see where I get beat in a few of these, but I get dominated. And you know, the issue is stuff like blocking. I'm not very good at. But when you do pull off a good block, it feels good. When you get a good hit off, it feels good. And so I think you've got to say that, like, in terms of basic, I'm playing the game and enjoying it, there's no real complaints to have, right? I enjoy the gameplay. I think in general, right, these models look incredible. Not all of them. Definitely not all of them. There is kind of like a... I think most people are saying, and I think it's accurate, it's a bit of a uncanny valley sort of... I mean, if you look at... what characters are the worst? If you look at Yusuke, he looks pretty good. Until you get close up and you see his teeth trying to poke their way out of his mouth like some kind of demon. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if the lips just aren't lined up properly or what. certain other characters, there's like an issue with the eyes. I've noticed the eyes are normally the big issue. On the One Piece characters, they look like soulless dolls because the One Piece characters don't normally have very big pupils, but they do have big eyes. So it just does this weird thing with the shine on their eyes, and I think that possibly, I don't know, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why they look a bit weird. Some of the other characters, like Gon, Gon looks bad a lot of the time. Especially on certain levels when it's like raining and stuff, Gon looks fucking horrifying. I think, if I'm honest, you know, because I played the game on Xbox when it was in beta, and I don't think that gave me the full experience. I thought it would, but the truth is, it didn't look very good on Xbox. That's Xbox One I'm playing on, not Xbox One X. So I don't know if it's different for the Xbox One X. And my Xbox One is one of the like original run, so it's really fucking old now. So maybe that's part of why it didn't look that good. It wasn't running very well. I don't know, but I will say that I think in the instance of the beta, it wasn't great on Xbox for me. Oh, here we go. This is the this was my second ever game and my second ever disconnect. Unfortunate. And yeah, I think once I got it on PC, I feel like I was experiencing the game properly. And you know, the actual, like I said, the actual gameplay. We're talking about the actual gameplay and not the things surrounding it. The actual gameplay, I think, is really good on PC. And I think, for the most part, a lot of the models look good. To pick out a few that I'm not a fan of, I don't think Midoriya looks that good some of the time. Gon is terrifying. Who else? Who else? Sabo looks like a demon creature. I'm trying to think of the other ones that are like really spooky. Trunks. I can't put my finger on it, but they've done something to Trunks' model that's just really... I don't know if his like shoulders are too massive or his head's too small or what. Man looks weird. I don't know what that is. But yeah, you're going to see in this video, I'm going to try and play with a few different sets of characters. Some of these characters I hadn't even played with up until this point, just because I wanted to see what online was like, because you know, I'd only been playing against the computer, and the AI is sort of kind of shitty some of the time. Also, sorry if my cursor keeps popping up. I forgot to change the settings to hide cursor when I was recording. That's my bad. But yeah, I think the models, I would say they got more right than they got wrong when it comes to the actual battling aspect. When we talk about in the lobbies and in story mode, and specifically not just cutscenes, although some of the cutscenes, but the cutscenes that have no voice acting, that's when you do start to see slight problems, even with some of the better character models, where they just, oh, they're so lifeless and weird, and they're almost T-posing half the time, and it's that is odd to me. That is really odd to me. I will say that I do get it. Like, to voice act that entire story and every like side part of the story would be troublesome, could be costly, time consuming. I get it. You didn't have to do all of that. I think what a better alternative would be, rather than just characters waving their arms about, simulating talking, maybe just, and I think they did this in J-Stars if I remember correctly, maybe just use images of the characters and let us just flick through it, like just click through it, have the dialogue obviously, but then have like the picture of the character who's talking and their name. I don't necessarily know if everybody would agree with that, but the thing where they're like mimicking talking, it's really unsettling, and up until now you were not able to skip that. You just had to keep slapping A, and I don't know, it just it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, if I'm honest. Not to say, look, I think there were some complaints about the story not being exactly original, but I mean, it's like a classic like crossover crisis sort of thing. There's gonna be some unoriginality in the story. I don't really care about that too much. I don't really have an issue with the story being unoriginal because, I mean, most manga don't really have that original stories. Like, they mostly steal from each other. It's fine. So I think the story mode, mostly I can live with. There is definitely some nonsense that I'm not particularly a fan of, especially with those voiceless cutscenes. But I don't know, what have I encountered in the story that's really not been good for me? Some of the weird missing animations, like I think everybody noticed the one in like one of the first cutscenes where Frieza's like, "Bye Goku," and he just lazily lists off the top of the screen. Like Frieza can fly, guys. I know you probably didn't program flying animations in because he doesn't really need to fly that much in the actual game because you don't really fly. But Frieza can fly, so rather than floating off the screen, maybe if he'd had like an aura around him and he just shot off the screen or something. Okay, maybe you'd say that's like kind of nitpicking, because you know, there's so many cutscenes in this game. There's bound to be some kind of shitty laziness. But another example is Ryuk. So like when you encounter Light, who by the way, Light's model looks fantastic. It's a shame he's not playable, and I know people will say, well, it doesn't really make sense for him to be playable, but it would have been cool if he was, you know, he was made in a similar vein to Yugi, where Ryuk simulated his attacks for him the same way Dark Magician does for Yugi. I can understand why they didn't do that, because it kind of doesn't really it doesn't really make sense to his character. Fair enough. And to be fair, they have in instances tried to be true to characters, like Sanji, which I think some people really did not like that. Sanji cannot hit female characters, and I don't really know how I feel about it. Because again, I'm not like a super competitive fighting game sort of person. So the potential ramifications of not being able to use Sanji, I don't know what those really are. I mean, if you think about it, I have seen a lot of people using Rukia as an assist. So is that potentially the real issue there, that people are thinking, well, I want to use Sanji, but if someone's using Rukia, the second I switch into him, bang, they're going to switch into Rukia. And I mean, I guess that's the full concern. I don't know, again, I don't know what like the meta or whatever is. So it's kind of hard for me to say, yeah, this is completely unacceptable or whatever. But I did play with Sanji a little in this game, and he feels really good to play with. He has a really good game feel. So I can understand why some people would want to play with Sanji. He's a cool character. He plays really fun in the game. So it would be, I don't know, a bit of a shame if you didn't really get a chance to play with a character you really like. I get that. But again, it is true to his character, so 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, I guess. There is definitely an argument to be had. It's like, well, if that's true to Sanji's character, then in theory, well, we're seeing it right now. Kakashi using, is it Chidori or Raikiri? If he uses that on Luffy, it should do no damage, because Luffy can't be affected by electricity or whatever. Because he's made of rubber. I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's fair. That's a fair comparison, but I can see why people would make that comparison. And I think my final thought on it is, I think it makes sense to Sanji's character, but maybe there should be some kind of toggleable option for it, for like actual competitive matches. I don't know if everyone would be on the same level as that, but that's just what I think. And it's obvious that like certain people have had a major say. I would say specifically Akira Toriyama and his people, and Eiichiro Oda and his people. I have a feeling they had quite a strong say on, I don't know about roster necessarily, potentially on roster, but definitely on what certain things were included for certain characters and who's allowed to say what and do what and whatever. There was definitely an element of that from what I'm seeing, especially when you look at the story mode and the way some of the characters interact, which it's weird. It's kind of weird. The three separate teams thing is like really weird because Boruto's in one of the teams and Naruto's in one of the other, and they're from the same. I shouldn't talk about the Jump Force timeline. I mean, it's fucked. It's just not worth talking about. What I want to talk about next are the weird animations, and I talked about the story mode ones a little bit, but what I also wanted to talk about in the lobby, like some of the most basic animations are missing. I don't know if this is just my game is shit, like maybe I installed it wrong or whatever, but when my character is running and I let go of the run button, he just stops instantly on the spot. There is no transitional animation whatsoever. He just instantly stops. And I find that odd, if I'm honest, very odd. I think some people think this game was rushed. And I can definitely see parts of that. I mean, people are... I haven't done any data mining myself, so anytime I talk about data mining, I will say, you know, I will disclaim it is assuming what they're saying is accurate. It does appear that certain characters may have been excluded, that were not just intended for DLC, but were intended to be in the base roster and were excluded. And again, I haven't looked myself, but it would make sense. For instance, Saint Seiya only having Seiya and Shiryu. Seiya and Shiryu makes sense, but someone like Saga, someone like Shun or Hyoga or Ikki, like, that would also make sense, you know? And in terms of the base roster itself, I would say when you look through it, some things do definitely make sense, okay? When they put just Kenshin and just Shishio, I said, okay, I kind of get that because Kenshin's kind of older and it is a popular series, it was at the time, and it's got a little bit of a resurgence. That resurgence was kind of stopped by the whole incident, which I won't get into this video. And you know, I haven't really been reading Kenshin since it why am I saying that word? Since it came back. Not for any particular reason, I've just got so many manga, I just kind of didn't really pick it up again. But yeah, I think Kenshin and Shishio made sense. I'm just saying those two because they're literally in front of me. Or Kenshin is anyway. But some people, I think the major argument is that maybe One Piece and Dragon Ball in particular got too much representation. And I understand the argument, I definitely do, and I kind of feel the same way. But I think a lot of people see this game as a celebration of Weekly Shonen Jump and Jump history, when the reality is this game happens to be coming out on the same year as the 50th anniversary. And there's also a little bit of confusion around that. Just to clarify, Jump Uti had like a 50th anniversary celebration thing, came out last year, and then once we ticked over to 2019, stopped using the 50th anniversary logo on everything. Whereas this game has come out in 2019 and is supposed to be celebrating the 50th anniversary. The reason behind that is the 50th anniversary is actually 2 years long, which sounds stupid, but the truth is the manga kind of launched twice. The magazine, I should say. The magazine launched twice. It launched first as, I don't know if it was called Bi-Weekly Shonen Jump, but it launched as a bi-weekly magazine. And then after a year became Weekly Shonen Jump as we know it now. So that is kind of why the anniversary is so, it feels like it's been going on for so long. a lot of the stuff, the celebration of the true inception of Shonen Jump, was last year. But, officially speaking, it has been 50 years since weekly Shonen Jump started. So Jump Force is kind of a celebration of that, I guess. And as I was trying to put into words very poorly, this game is being marketed as, and for a lot of people, they are seeing it as a celebration of weekly Shonen Jump as a magazine, right? When the truth is, that's not what this is. This is a brief celebration of weekly Shonen Jump while also making as much money as possible. And I know they're never going to be able to please everyone. They never are. It's kind of an unwinnable battle. And so servicing certain series over others makes absolute sense. But even in doing that, I felt like they kind of did it poorly. My main thought is the inclusion of Cell. Why? Why though? What has Cell done recently that like justifies him being included? It doesn't make any sense. And of all the characters in Dragon Ball, you chose one that hasn't been relevant in how long? Like, I don't get that, and I don't know. Look, I will say this: they included stuff from Dragon Ball Super. That makes perfect sense for the simple reason that even though Dragon Ball Super stuff is not from Weekly Shonen Jump, and this is supposed to be a celebration of Weekly Shonen Jump, they have to appeal to the masses, and that's how they're going to sell the game. That's how they're going to get this game in as many households as possible. By including stuff that's not technically Weekly Shonen Jump, and it is Dragon Ball Super, which, if you want to say they got this from the manga, then it's V Jump, but this is obviously anime stuff, and they've included obviously voice acting anime stuff. The reasoning behind it is Dragon Ball Super is super relevant right now. Dragon Ball Super is, you know, all over the place. We just had the Broly movie lighting up theaters all over the world. We have well, the series, the manga, merchandise, apparel, you name it, it's been done, right? And if Goku fucking Blue, oh sorry, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Goku, and Vegeta and Golden Frieza are everywhere, they are fucking everywhere, and then you don't include them in the game with Goku and Vegeta and Frieza, the people that aren't, like, the people that don't really give a shit about, oh, it's Weekly Shonen Jump, so it's not whatever, they're gonna be like, what the fuck, why isn't Blue Goku in here? Those same people are probably asking, why isn't Jiren in here? Why isn't Beerus in here? You know? I think that it's okay to include Super Saiyan Blue and Golden Frieza. I think that's fine. I will say the whole thing about Kane and Galena and them being not actually, they're made by Akira Toriyama, but they're not Weekly Shonen Jump characters. Some people will argue, okay, but that's fine, it's, you know, it's original stuff, whatever. I mean, they're not even playable, so it doesn't matter. People say, you know, it's just something original to this game. Fair enough, fair enough. But I will, and I'll make this argument, and I'll continue to make it. You have so many different universes of characters to pick from over the course of 50 years worth of content, and you chose to not do that and to make your own characters. And that's really weird to me. I don't get that at all. Like, I also think this is an issue with the NPCs. They use create a character characters as NPCs. Like, look, okay, here's an example, right? For a start, primarily, yeah, let's say that the shops and the mission desks and stuff like that, let's say they're not laid out the way they are now, and it's instead a doorway that you walk into, and then it starts up like a dialogue on the screen of you with another character. So we don't need 3D models now. In this logical aspect, we don't need 3D models. We just need a 2D image of a character that you can be having a dialogue with. So for example, let's say you wanted to go to one of the desks where they teach you how to use certain skills. Well, why does that need to be a creator character when you could go into one of these rooms, have a dialogue with a character, and it could be like Master Roshi teaching you new technique, or I'm trying to figure, Jiraiya, someone like that, you know? And I know weapons aren't actually usable on creator characters really, which kind of sucks. But if they were, if it was something you could go out and you could buy and you could equip to your characters, which would be fucking awesome, I don't see any reason why you couldn't have a character like Tashigi or someone like that, someone that's supposed to be like a weapons buff, and you could have a conversation with them, and there could be interesting interactions, and maybe the characters change sometimes depending on certain events and stuff. The creator characters feel really bland. They feel bland as enemies in the story as well. And coming up against Kane and Galena, like, I'm not gonna say their designs are bad or anything. Like, they're perfectly fine. It's just, it would have been cooler to come up against more enemies that, like, I like from those series, you know? Even if we're not talking about including new series, like, you already included fucking Frieza and Cell from Dragon Ball. Like, maybe include another villain or two. Include a villain from Saint Seiya, include a villain from fucking City Hunter. Include, I don't know, like, what other fucking series? Man, you could have included Hadler from Dragon Quest. Instead, not really. This is what I'm talking about. Like, it's not a celebration of Weekly Shonen Jump. It's kind of a celebration of Jump media, but it's also just a way to make some money and get people playing their game. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I actually think, you know, I would have liked to see more diversity in terms of series, in terms of characters. But there are definitely some, like, understandable choices that were made, and I don't necessarily hate all of them. But like I said, there are still some choices there where I'm just like, you could have done anything else but that. I think a lot of people took exception to Boa being included. I think a lot of people definitely had an issue with Cell being included. And I think there are just a lot better choices they had. You know? There was a lot better choices to be made. Like, cool, you included Jotaro and Dio, that's great. But JoJo's kind of hot right now, you know? JoJo is kind of hot right now with Part 5 out. Maybe they didn't want to include Giorno because they didn't want to spoil anything from the anime. Maybe that's something we see later down the line. Sure, whatever. You could have included Josuke. You could have included Kira. I mean, I guess at a stretch you could have included Part 1 and 2 characters. Like, you already kind of did that in J-Stars, so there's no reason you couldn't have. But no, they didn't really feel like doing that. Okay, that's fine. And I'm not going to say we needed more City Hunter characters. I would have liked to see it. You know, I would have liked to see Umibozu or Kaori or someone. And heck, even the City Hunter movie is out right now, and you can get... And there's Cat's Eye characters in that series, in that movie rather. They're not part of City Hunter, but they're kind of sort of in the same universe. So they're in the movie with them. I'm not saying Cat's Eye characters would necessarily work in this game, but what I'm saying is a bit of diversity can be nice. A bit of diversity. Like, they obviously included Trunks because that was their way of saying this is the guy that's in all of the, and this is what I was saying earlier about Akira Toriyama having a big say in things that were done in this game. He was like, well, you gotta have Trunks. He's in Heroes. He's in Xenoverse. He's the guy. He's the time traveling guy. Like it just makes sense. It's like, yeah, okay, I'll give you that one. I will give you that one. Trunks makes sense. I will never accept that Cell makes sense though. Cell over Gohan? Really? Fucking really? That gets worse later. We'll talk about that. But yeah, I do kind of wish that they had utilized the universe of Weekly Shonen Jump a bit better. Also, there's a few things not included that really fucking surprise me. Like with the creator character costumes, okay, they're a little bit not quite what I wanted them to be. Creator character in general, not quite what I wanted it to be. But I will say that there are definitely some good elements to it, and I have a feeling that quite a lot of people are enjoying making their own characters on this game. More power to you. I'm not gonna say it's bad. Like, it just doesn't necessarily do what I wanted it to do, and that's basically what this video is. I quite enjoyed the gameplay, but all the other elements of the game, the elements that are sort of supposed to be the celebration of Jump itself, don't quite do what I was hoping they would do. Which, you know, some people would say I'm being like a bit of a spoiled brat when it comes to stuff like this. Some people would say that I'm just crying that I didn't get what I wanted, and like, you know, I'm not appreciating what's actually been done in this game. I do appreciate what's been done in this game, and I'm happy to see these characters together, and I'm happy there was at least some love for some series that are not as firmly in the mainstream, you know? Like, I've seen enough fucking Hunter x Hunter, One Piece, Dragon Ball, Naruto stuff. I didn't really need more, you know? And even a game like, even something like Saint Seiya. Saint Seiya has its own gacha game, it has its own console game, it has all this, like, it doesn't really need more love, to be honest. But getting a chance to use someone like Yugi in a fighting game, and getting a chance to use characters like Dai in a fighting game, like, sure, we've had them in like gacha games and stuff like that, but in an actual fighting game, like a AAA title, fully 3D modeled, that's pretty fucking awesome. I will at least say that is pretty fucking awesome. This was the unfortunate moment where I fought the same guy twice, and he was significantly better than me. I hope you guys have been enjoying this amazing gameplay of me getting my ass beat, because there's more coming, don't you worry. And I think, okay, this is as good a time as any to talk about DLC. Alright? This is as good a time as any to talk about how the roster that wasn't necessarily what everybody wanted. We'll talk about how maybe it's going to be getting worse. I know getting worse is a little bit much, but okay. So I've seen some people say this DLC is awesome, this DLC is the fucking best, and I've seen a lot of other people trash it. I'm gonna talk about it as level-headedly as possible. The DLC, the rumoured DLC, like I said, I haven't seen this firsthand, I haven't data mined this myself, but other people claim to have data mined it. I have no reason not to believe them. So the DLC rumours are Seto Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh!, Madara Uchiha from Naruto, Trafalgar Law from One Piece, Majin Buu, I don't know which form of Majin Buu, but Majin Buu from Dragon Ball, All Might and Katsuki Bakugo from My Hero Academia, Toshiro Hitsugaya and Grimjo Jagajak from Bleach, and Biscuit Kruger from Hunter x Hunter. I want to be candid here. I quite like a lot of these characters. Alright? I like Seto Kaiba. I like Madara Uchiha. I like Trafalgar Law. Majin Buu can fuck off. And I'm not holding back any punches, right? Majin Buu is just such a shit character to be included in this. I don't doubt that he might be fun to play with for some people. People that are a fan of the character probably have a lot of fun playing with him. I don't know, like if it's Kid Buu or maybe even a transforming Buu, maybe you can play as Buuhan. If they fucking include Buuhan and Bootegs, and we still got no Gohan, no Goten, no Trunks. Well, we got Trunks technically, but you can fuck off with that shit. Like, that's fucked up. Majin Buu. Nah. If I'm making this game, Majin Buu is not. He's not on my list of first fucking 500 characters to be included. I'm sorry. It's a no from me. All Might and Bakugo. Sure, My Hero Academia is super popular. People love All Might. People love Bakugo. I have no problem with that. Toshiro Hitsugaya and Grimjo Jack, two incredibly popular characters from Bleach. I like Toshiro. In my original list of characters, I would have liked to have been included in Jump Force. I wanted Toshiro, and if it's 1000 Year Blood War Toshiro, even more so. Grimjo's really cool as well, and I even think Biscuit is a really nice character to include in the game because she's perfect in terms of a transformation mechanic. And I have a feeling she'd be really fun to combo with. I'm praying that her transformation is not the same as Gon's, in the sense that you could only use it in the process of using the ultimate attack and then you can't use it anymore. You have to charge up and then use the ultimate attack again. Compared to other characters like Goku, you go Super Saiyan, you stay Super Saiyan. Like, I'm hoping you can transform into her big buff mode and stay in it. But supposedly these are the 9 DLC characters that are planned. And at the moment the first DLC is supposed to be in a couple of months. Well, that's what I've heard anyway. And with this current DLC list and with the current DLC plan schedule, I would say I'm disappointed. Because I think that list is perfectly fine, but I think the issue a lot of people have with it is, I say perfectly fine, except Majin Buu. I think the issue a lot of people have with it is these are characters that should have been in the base roster. And I know, like, I said it 1,000,001 times before the game came out. The roster needed to be 50. It's the 50th anniversary, the roster needed to be 50. Instead, we've got these 9 characters, and other than Majin Buu, I have no problem with any of these characters being included. But the fact that no new series are being included through DLC is really troubling to me. And I've heard some people say many different reasons for this. Those other series aren't popular enough. It would cost too much to get the licenses. There's too many issues with, you know, some series not being available in certain countries, and there'd be issues with the copyright. And just as simple stuff as like, well, these 9 characters are so popular, why wouldn't they be included over other characters? But look, like I said, for a start, right? Let's hit some off. Yeah. Seto Kaiba and Madara Uchiha should have been base game. Okay. Now with the rest of the list, I'd instantly take off Majin Buu. I don't care if Majin Buu is your favourite character in all of Dragon Ball. Fuck off, yeah? We've got Cell, who already didn't need to be in the game, who was already completely irrelevant to Dragon Ball at this point in time. Get rid, yeah? I don't need it. Alright? Then we've got Biscuit. I'm shooting down a list of Biscuit. My issue with Biscuit is Hunter x Hunter is one of the few series in the game that got a fair amount of representation. We got the key characters from the main core team. and we got one. You wouldn't call Hisoka a villain. We got one evil. I don't know, evil character, nutty character. I don't know. I thought that was fair. Hisoka, Gon, Kurapika, Killua. That is fair for Hunter x Hunter. There are a lot of series that got underrepresented. There are a couple of series that got overrepresented. But that was a fair number for them, right? Madara Uchiha should have been... Oh, did I get another disconnect? Oh boy. Madara Uchiha should have been in the base game ahead of Kaguya. My opinion. Again, my opinion, but still, if you wanted to make Kaguya DLC, I think that's the bottom line. I think that's the bottom line here. If they put Kaguya as DLC, people would have been less likely to buy it than if they put Madara as DLC. And it is all about money at the end of the day. And they're a business, I understand that. They gotta make their peas. That's fine. But it's a little bit shitty to make a character and then on purpose not include them in the base game because you know the other character you made would not be as popular. And look, I'm not the most hardcore Naruto fan of all time. There's a Naruto event coming up with Jump Hootie that I'm quite excited for, but in general, I'm not the hardcore Naruto fan. It got to a certain point in the series where I was just reading it because it was there, and I just wanted the series to finally reach its end. And I don't know, maybe hardcore Naruto fans have a different opinion, but Kaguya's just shit. She's just shit. It was such a poor idea. The execution was poor. Why did they spend so much time building up to Madara only for him to just like not be relevant at all at the final moments? It's... I just wouldn't have included Kaguya. I just wouldn't have bothered, if I'm honest. That's just me. I think Seto Kaiba is awesome. I think Seto Kaiba should have been in the base game. I think it should have been Yugi and Seto, and then we should have got DLC later to include Marek. That would have been perfect, because you would have had Slifer, you would have had Obelisk, and then Winged Dragon of Ra, or whatever their original Japanese names are. My point is that would have been awesome. Madara Uchiha. Oh, this gameplay is interesting. Pay attention to this. This was the first time I experienced the real lag of this game. I don't know if it was the other guy's connection. I don't know if my computer was just deciding to give up. I don't know. But there were some issues in this game. You've already seen a few disconnects, I'm sure, going on in the background. But this was a laggy experience for me. In general, I've got to be honest. The connection experience, the actual gameplay experience was very smooth. This game was the only one I had real issues with. The disconnects, however, happened way too often. Anyway, back to talking about the characters, including Law. Law's a cool character. Law is a cool character, and I like him as a character. Is he relevant though? Was Boa relevant? I guess Trafalgar Law more so. Way more so than Boa. But there is that thing of like... And it's a bit of a stereotype, but I think it does ring true a little bit. I think a lot of the time people do kind of see the Japanese main core One Piece audience as a bunch of horny teenagers. And I think the fact that like certain characters are so popular even to this day, even when they're not featured in the series anymore, probably does sort of support that argument. And I think the fact that Boa is included here might also support that argument. Don't get me wrong, in terms of as a fighter, you can make they've made interesting ideas work with her as a fighter, and she's not a bad character to include, I guess. But okay, let's say they wanted a female character, they wanted more female representation, and they wanted someone more relevant, and they wanted somebody that would fit well in this game. Do you know who would have made sense? Carrot. Because she's relevant to the current crew. She is a fighter by nature, whereas with Boa, like, yeah, she's super strong, but most of the time she's not fighting. I guess sometimes she is. Fucking. Kara is a fighter. She has something you could implement as a transformation mechanic, and she would have been awesome to have. I saw a lot of arguments for Nami, and you definitely could have made an argument for Nami. Like, if you can make an argument for Yugi, you can make an argument for Nami. Trafalgar Law, I think, just comes down to they thought this would be cool. This would be a cool character to include, and yeah, sure, whatever. I've already talked about Majin Buu, but let's go back to Majin Buu. Why Majin Buu? Why? Why literally anyone else? Literally anyone else, yeah? You could have included fucking Broly, I would have been less pissed off. And Broly's not showing him jump. Well, no, he's not showing him jump. All Might and Bakugo, I have no problem with either of those characters. I feel like either All Might or Bakugo probably should have been base roster. And potentially probably even were planned to be base roster, but then just it didn't happen for one reason or another. I don't know. But definitely for me a bit of a yikes to have two separate My Hero Academia characters as two separate DLCs. Again, this DLC, these rumours, like, I have no real way to confirm this right now, so we're just going off what people are telling us. But I would say this list was very believable, which is why everyone was, and it's being told to us by trusted sources. So we're just kind of going with it. I don't, you know, if it turns out to be different, depending on different in what way, I'd be perfectly fine with it. There is something to bear in mind with everything like this, and it's happened with your boy Yonko Productions on Twitter when he was leaking certain things about the game before the game came out, and then those things didn't happen, and people were like, "Oh, he's not credible," and all this and all that. Look, he could have been pulling that shit out of his ass for all I know. I have no idea, but when a leaker sees something and decides to share it, that doesn't necessarily, and it doesn't happen, that doesn't necessarily mean that it was never going to happen, that it wasn't planned, that it wasn't a thing that could have happened, that was intended to happen. But sometimes things just go wrong. For one reason or another, we couldn't include this character or that character in the base roster because they weren't ready yet. We couldn't show off this character or that character at this expo because there was something wrong with the trailer or the gameplay or whatever. And over time, maybe certain decisions were made that were out of the game developers' hands. Like, I believe the game is made by Spike Chunsoft, but maybe Bandai had a say in certain things and they said, okay, you can't do this, you can't do that. You can only include this later, you can only do that, you know. They need to maximize their profits at the end of the day, and maybe certain decisions were made that way. And what it comes down to is, when something gets leaked, be it through an inside source or through data mining, that information can change later. Like, they fully might, this might be the exact 9 characters they have planned for DLC right now, and those characters might all be completely finished and ready to be added to the game. But they might change their mind, especially if there's a lot of community backlash, especially if there's a lot of people saying this character looks, this was a bad idea, all this. They might change their ideas. Not to say that they wouldn't add the characters if they had already finished them, but maybe they would say, okay, let's not include this character in the first 9. Let's include this character instead, and then we'll add this character later. I don't know. They've said they'll continue to support the game as long as people continue to support the game. So I don't necessarily think that it won't go beyond these 9 characters. I think it will. I think there will be enough support. Like I said, the fighting game, I'm not a fighting game expert, but the actual feel of playing this game and fighting against other people, it feels really good. It plays really well. And I am of the personal opinion that this game could, as long as they continue to support it with patches and continue to improve it, this game could last for quite a while. I don't know how long quite a while is, because nowadays AAA titles don't last as long, man. They just don't, you know? Like, we're used to games like Call of Duty and FIFA and all that stuff lasting, what, a year max? And then maybe some other games that are like pretty good and get a few DLCs, they'll last 2, maybe 3 years. Beyond that, you can't really expect them to last much longer, you know? And if they are going to be releasing a new DLC, what, every 2 months or something? Then, what can we, you know, realistically, what can we expect? Can we expect 18 DLC? Can we expect 27? I mean, maybe they won't do it in sets of 9. Maybe, you know, maybe it'll just be more sporadic after the first 9. I don't know. I hope they continue to support it. I hope they continue to support character creation. I really hope that with the character creation, they intend to buck up their ideas in the future. Add tons more costumes, tons more ideas for skills and stuff. And I had this whole idea in my head of what they could have done with the character creation in terms of adding skills from characters that are not actually in the game. I never really put the thoughts well into a video, but the basic idea was you could include like cards or something from characters that you could equip to characters, and that could let's say, for example, you equip a card and it's one of Toriko's skills, and your creator character can use one of Toriko's skills without them having to add Toriko to the game for one reason or another. Whether you think Toriko is popular enough to be included or not, realistically, he's probably not that high up in terms of sales. But when you look at the total sales figures of everything that happened in Jump, and you take away the series that are ineligible for, you know, rights reasons, so that's like Shaman King series like that, you take those away, then you take away the series that are like essentially entirely gag manga, then you take away the series that are sports manga, the actual core shonen battle series, you don't have that many to work with in like the super high rankings. So, oh, I think that's the end of the final battle. Well, I'm gonna have to wrap this up, but my basic idea was you could add characters from all over the place without having to add the actual characters, just their skills and whatever. Anyway, I'm going to end this video here. I have plenty more to talk about for Jump Force, and I'm going to do more gameplay videos at a later date. I hope you guys enjoyed. Give me any criticism and feedback. I know the gameplay wasn't exactly the best. I know there were a lot of disconnects and whatever as well. I just realised that after recording this, that I didn't actually include the characters that I would have wanted to see as DLC, as opposed to the 9 we got. And like I said, a lot of those characters I was fine with. I feel like they would have been better included in the base roster. But in terms of the characters I wanted to see, and I feel like just saying this is going to make people go, well, hang on a minute, that character's not popular enough, and you're just saying that character because you're running a hype train or something like that. In terms of the 9 I wanted, right, and let's assume that they couldn't have added any more to the base roster. So let's just say these characters are either not in the game or they're in the DLC. I would personally, from this list, cut out, I would say move All Might to Season 3 of DLC, leave Bakugo in Season 1. So All Might's gone. Majin Buu, gone. They obviously added Trafalgar Law because they wanted one more One Piece character. For me, I'm switching Trafalgar Law up to Carrot because it just makes more sense. It just does make more sense. I like Trafalgar Law, don't get me wrong. And if I could, I would take out Boa and put in Carrot. But for this, I'm putting Carrot in instead of Trafalgar Law because One Piece is just going to get DLC. I can't do anything about that, guys. It's like, it's the most popular global manga. I can't do anything about that. Dragon Ball ain't getting nothing though, because Dragon Ball can fuck off. Because they should have added Gohan, and they didn't. And actually, you know what? Fuck it. Gohan. There you go. Gohan. Whatever. I'm writing these down so I don't forget them. I would include Madarauchi, I would include Seto Kaiba. So, both Bleach characters are gone. I'm sorry. I like Bleach. I do like Bleach. I love Bleach, actually. And 1000 Year Blood War Toshiro Hitsugaya, oh my god, would be amazing. But no, fuck off. And then, Biscuit. I really don't want more Hunter x Hunter characters. I'm sorry. I can't. I think you make so much sense for this. I think you'd be fun to play with. But if I'm only allowed 9, you're just not in it. You're just not. You're gone. So right now, we've got 5 characters. Seto Kaiba, Madara Uchiha, Carrot, Gohan, Son Gohan, that is, and Katsuki Bakugo. So that's 5 out of my 9. Straight away, I'd throw in Sawada Tsunayoshi from Katekyo Hitman Reborn. I don't give a fuck if you don't know what Katekyo Hitman Reborn is. I don't care if you don't like the series. It was popular enough to be included in the fucking conversation. Suna is in. That's all. And in terms of other characters, I would have wanted more series to be included. So I'm going to include Tanjiro Kamado. And I would have included this as a late Season 1 DLC, because by that point the anime would have been out for a little while. So you could include an early series Tanjiro without spoiling anything. And then how many spaces do I have left? I can't count. I think that's 7 out of 9, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 out of 9. Now, I would personally say, if you're going to include Bakugo, you should probably include Yuno. But do I want to include Yuno? I don't know. I would probably push Yuno to a later one, a later DLC slot, and then maybe we can get another new series in here. My fallback is I like Medical Box. I'd love to see Medical Box, but the thing is I like a lot of series. Like, recently I got turned onto Siren because I hadn't read it before, and Siren is pretty fucking good, you know, and I'd love to say, hey, Ageha Yoshina, let's put him in the game. Never gonna happen. In a billion years, never gonna happen. But I would say, you know, there are characters in J-Stars that are not necessarily in this because J-Stars didn't maybe do as well as they wanted, okay. And, oh god, I'd love to see fucking Asakura Yo in this game, but that's never gonna fucking happen. And if I say Kinnikuman, people will say, that's bullshit, man, Kinnikuman's never gonna happen because it's too old and it's too whatever. So what does that leave me with? I want to keep this list as realistic and as proper as possible, you know. I would say Giorno. At what point are we even going to see like the end of JoJo Part 5? Because that's kind of when you'd want to release Giorno. Because people will be like, okay, we finished Part 5, we know everything there is to know about the series. Oh shit, it's Giorno. I'm putting him on there. I'm putting him on there. Giorno Giovanna. Because it's fucking Giorno Giovanna. He's fucking awesome. So that's 8, so I've got one more, right? I've got one more. And that's not really a new series. I said I was going to do a new series. That's not really a new series. Oh, there's so many. There's so many. I can tell why they had a hard time choosing. Like, they literally couldn't please everyone. It's impossible. Oh, I honestly, I can't. Like, because my head's going, you know, Hadler would be pretty cool, but, like, they wouldn't add Hadler as DLC. And I don't... Maybe someone from Fist of the North Star, maybe Ray or Rao, maybe. I wouldn't want any more Dragon Ball. I wouldn't want any more One Piece. I wouldn't want any more Naruto. I want Marek, but I'd probably say Season 2, Season 3, whatever. Fuck. I don't know. It's so tricky to come up with characters, like, because like, I've got to take out of my mind all the gag characters. I've got to take out of my mind all the, like, all the characters that are not really suited. Like, obviously, sports manga, no go. I might be tempted to say Kuga Yuma from World Trigger, because that's sort of relevant right now because the manga came back not that long ago. But then people might say that that's still a little bit of a cop-out because it's like not like crazy popular, but I mean it's a newer series. It's not that new, but it's newer, you know. Newer than some of the like 80s and 90s stuff, definitely. I know a lot of people wanted Alan Walker. I'm not saying I couldn't see it happening, but as I have no personal attachment to D. Grey Man, wouldn't be on my list, unfortunately. Wouldn't be on my list. I'd like to say Arale, but that's just like I said, I don't really think a gag manga character has a chance. Arale would be so cool. Arale would be so cool, but no. Gintoki. Ooh. Like, because he's kind of a gag manga character. Well, I mean, he is a gag manga character, but there is that element. There's that element there of he has a serious side. It could totally work. And I said before I would have loved to see Hinamaru, but that's like never in a million years. It's just not happening. I don't know. Like, it's really quite difficult. I can see why they've struggled to come up with a roster that makes a lot of people happy. And they've done, to be fair, I think, you know, they've done well in some aspects. They really have. Medika, did I mention her? I would have loved to see her. I don't think that's going to happen. It's a shame, but it's just not really going to happen. What does that leave us with? I'm trying to think of, like, super popular series that got snubbed, but it's like, it's hard, you know. I think my final choice would probably be not adding a new series in and adding in Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho, because I didn't mention it in this video, but why wasn't Hiei and Kurama in the base game? Nobody knows! So that's my 9. That's the end of this video. I would have added in some extra gameplay. And yeah, this is the real end. See you guys next time.